Hi everyone, welcome back to English with Yubin. And in case you missed the first introduction video, hi, my name's Yubin, in case you couldn't guess from the channel name. And today's video is the first proper English conversation. But before we get into today's video, I thought I would give a brief foreword because my mum gave me pretty much real-time feedback, and one of the things that she requested was that I speak a little slower because obviously having grown up here, I don't quite register how quickly I'm talking. I mean, sometimes I do, but most of the time I don't. And obviously for English learners, it can sometimes be a bit difficult to keep up with the speed. I know I've been there because it happened to me when I was learning French. So I will do my best to slow down the pace at which I'm talking. Sometimes when I get a bit excited about a topic, it might not be quite as easy to restrain myself, but I will do my best. And the second thing that I wanted to say was I was thinking about the best way to go about making these videos for you guys, and I just came to the conclusion that the best option available would be to make a video about having a conversation, talking about different topics, so that you could pause the video when there was a word or a phrase that you didn't quite understand or that you thought was useful. And at the end of each of these videos, I'll also be doing a deep dive or a breakdown of different words or different phrases that I think are quite useful in everyday conversation or that you might not have heard before. So without further ado, let's get to it. So the topic that we will be discussing today is hobbies, a very classic everyday conversation question that always comes up. And like I said, this is a question for you to practice at home. Pause the video here and imagine I'm sitting in front of you through the screen and practice your answers out loud, which is different from just thinking it all inside your head. So, do you have any hobbies? And if you do you do them regularly or not as often as you'd like? And yeah, just practice away. So, if I were to answer this question, I would probably say, yeah, I do have quite a few hobbies. And when I say quite a few, I really do mean quite a lot. And if you know me at all, you know that I am a very, very introverted person. I don't like leaving my house. I am a bit of a hermit crab. And if I am to do any socializing, I will invite my friends over to my house so that I physically don't have to leave the boundaries of my own home, or I cram all my socializing into a day so that, again, I just have to leave the house once to do all the socializing that I need to within a week. So yeah, that's just a little bit about my personality. So it should come to no surprise really that all my hobbies only require me, myself and I, and can all be done within the boundaries of my own home. So for example, one of my all-time favorite hobbies is to draw. I love drawing, and I don't think you can see it in the frame, but I have an easel in the corner of my room and I've nicknamed it my happy place. I've also put a pink flower-shaped bath mat on the floor with a big easel and Studio Ghibli postcards stuck on the wall. If you don't know what Studio Ghibli is, it's a Japanese animation studio, and they've done movies like Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke, Kiki's Delivery Service, and all these movies hold my childhood memories in them. So they're very nostalgic. They give me a lot of inspiration because the art style is one that I love and I am obsessed with. So yeah, I've just stuck them on for some inspiration, a bit of color on the wall, and yeah, they just make me happy whilst I'm drawing, listening to my favorite songs as well. And it just gives you peace of mind and puts all your worries, all your anxieties to rest, at least for a few short hours. So yeah, I just love to paint. I've used oil paints, gouache, watercolor. I've even used chalks and pastels for drawing. But I would say my preferred medium is probably colored pencils, just because I'm most used to it, I feel the most comfortable using it, and also it doesn't require pots of water or solvent, so it just takes a lot less prepping to use colored pencil. So that's probably why it's my favorite, because I'm a little bit lazy. But I feel like I have a bit of PTSD when it comes to chalks and pastels, especially because of my art GCSE. It was a 10-hour drawing and we split it over 2 days. So we had 5 hours one day and 5 hours the next. And I stupidly decided to do a massive self-portrait. Don't get me wrong, I'm not that vain. I think I was off to the side and I had a tree of purple lights coming out of one corner. And so it was a very ethereal, mystical, mythical theme vibe to it. But it had a very dark color scheme. It was a lot of black, a lot of purple, blue, pink. And if you don't do art, with chalk or pastels, you can blend with your fingers, or I think you can even blend it with a paper stub. I think alcohol's for oil pastels, but yeah. Imagine blending for 10 hours on a massive piece of canvas, by the way. I think it ended up being 1 meter 60 by 1 meter or 1 meter 50. So I had to have 2 easels put together to fit my canvas. And as you can imagine, it's a massive blank canvas to be working on. So by the end of the day, I had a massive pile of black chalk just on the floor mixed with different pigments. So yeah, I think I have a bit of PTSD from that. But given how much I enjoy drawing and painting, I think university life made it a little bit difficult to make time to draw and paint. Because as we all know, making art isn't something that takes 30 minutes. I mean, for some people it does only take 30 minutes, but for a perfectionist like me, who is still a beginner when it comes to art, I just didn't really have time to draw and do the things that I wanted during university. But I still tried to do something small, because for me, art kind of acted as a therapy. It gives you time to just make everything still and calm and reflect on the days and the weeks that have gone by. And it also does wonders for your stress levels. So if you're stressed, I highly recommend doing some art. Just put on your favorite music and just draw away your worries, because I promise you it will help with your stress levels and your anxiety levels. Just not thinking about all the things that you have to do or haven't yet done. It gives you time to just chillax and chill out for a second. So yeah, I would say one of my favorite hobbies is probably drawing and doing art. I'll probably come back to hobbies because I have quite a lot, as I have already said. I also like reading and riding horses and taking my dog Bonnie out for a walk. If you can't see that picture frame, I have a massive frame of Bonnie looking very majestic indeed in front of a cannon. So yeah, I'll probably come back to this topic in a later video, but this was fun talking about my passion for drawing and painting. So thanks for listening, and let's go to the next question. So this question is kind of still related to hobbies, because another one of my favorite hobbies is watching movies and watching drama series. I don't really know a person who doesn't like watching movies or dramas. Actually, no, I do know one person, but I think that might be because it's related to her job, so scratch that. But a lot of people do like watching movies and dramas. So my question to you is, do you like watching movies or dramas? And if so, do you have a favorite one, or one that you're excited to watch that hasn't yet been released? For me, I would say that I have quite a few favorites, but I must say that a lot of them are Korean because, you know, I'm biased, okay? However, I will say that in my own personal biased opinion, I feel like for dramas in particular, K-dramas are just the creme de la creme of dramas. I mean, don't get me wrong, they don't always become worldwide phenomenons like Harry Potter or Game of Thrones or Bridgerton, I feel like is also quite popular internationally too. And The Witcher, I think I've seen a lot of recently too. I don't know, I'm very out of the loop when it comes to new releases, but being a Korean myself, I feel like I relate more to the storyline and the characters and the different dynamics and nuances that are portrayed on screen. So for me, it's more relatable, and because it's more relatable, I find the content funnier, and so I feel like that's why I have this opinion of K-dramas. I hold it to the highest esteem. But in terms of movies, would you say that you prefer watching them at home or at cinemas? Because I feel like this is a very common debate topic. For me personally, I would say that I prefer watching films in cinemas because they just have better visual and sound effects, and it's also away from any kind of distraction that you could possibly have at home. And on top of that, everyone is there to enjoy the same film and enjoy the experience. So it's a nice day out, but the price is quite expensive. So, but yeah, I guess it does ultimately boil down to personal preference. But I do think there is something about watching movies in a cinema versus watching it at home. I just think it's a better, a nicer experience. It's a nice chill day out to have with friends and family, and you don't have to wait months and months for the movie to be released on streaming services. So I guess there are ups and downs to both, but yeah, me, I prefer watching movies in a cinema, but what about you? So everyone, thanks for watching and listening and hopefully answering these questions. But unfortunately, this is all the time we have today to discuss these two very basic but common questions that come up in everyday conversation. I'll probably revisit the hobbies question again in the future, but on this video, stay tuned for my deep dive breakdown of different words, certain phrases that I use throughout the conversation. So let's get on with that bit. Okay, so in this part of the video, we are going to be going over some of the words and phrases that I used throughout the conversation, which I think you might not have heard before, or some of the things that are useful in everyday conversation. And obviously, depending on how far along you are in your English journey, some of the things might seem a bit basic or a bit too easy, but I just thought it's better to go over them anyway, even if you have heard of them. So let's get started. Okay, let's start off on quite a basic level. The first thing that we are going to cover is when I said it always comes up in everyday conversation. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard this phrase, it always comes up, but it actually has quite a few variations. So it can be said as it crops up, or it pops up, or it springs up, but it basically means it arises or occurs or happens. So when I say it always comes up in everyday conversation, what I mean is that the topic or question we're talking about is something that's often discussed in everyday conversation. So that's what it means when it says it comes up, and those are the different variations you could have of the same phrase. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is the word introvert, which you've probably heard come up in conversation, but just in case you haven't, I want to go over it. So, personalities can basically be divided into two main categories. You can either be an introvert or an extrovert. And introverts, as you can probably imagine from the description I've given of myself, It's basically someone who recharges their social battery by taking time to themselves, and they don't really like to socialize, whereas extroverts are the opposite of that. So they gain energy by being around people, and they love to socialize and engage and interact with a whole variety of people. So take my family, for example. We are a whole family of introverts except my dad. My dad is kind of like a golden retriever. He loves being around people. He's the kind of person that, you know, if you leave at home, he'll become restless like a puppy. But I'd say me in particular, I'm probably the biggest introvert in my whole entire family. But I'm also a very innately shy person who doesn't like awkward silences. So my default when I'm interacting with people that I'm not familiar with is to basically smile and nod and laugh. And that's probably why I don't come across as an introvert. That's what people who have met me have said. So I'm going off based on that. But yeah, when I'm in a room full of people that I don't really know, I can feel my social battery going from this to just and just draining very, very quickly. And I feel like it shows on my face because at the beginning of the night, I'll probably be, you know, very not energetic, but, you know, I'll be giving more reaction, like ha 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 ha. And then by the end of the night, I think my face just slowly relaxes and doesn't give much emotion, and I can feel myself just lounging in my chair and just dead face, just dead straight staring into midair. So yeah, that was a very long tangent on what an introvert is, but that's basically what it is. Someone who likes to keep to themselves, and yeah, on to the next one. And just following on from an introvert, there's the term hermit crab. So a hermit crab is someone who doesn't leave their house, basically. And there are quite a few phrases like this in English. The other one that I can think of off the top of my head is a couch potato. And that's basically someone who doesn't leave their sofa. They're at one with their sofa, and yeah, they just like lounging around, is basically what a couch potato is. And that was me probably last summer, but yeah, moving on. Okay, the next one is to cram, and that basically has two definitions. And as a student, I used to cram quite a lot, and that basically means to study very hard for a short period of time, probably before an exam. But the word cramming that I used in the conversation was that I cram all my social events into a day, and that's basically filling my schedule as tightly as I can so that all my social events that I could spread throughout the week, I just fit all into one day. So I just need to leave the house just one day a week. So yeah, that's basically what cramming is. You can cram a box as well, which is basically stuffing a box as full as you can to the point that it sometimes overflows. And that's what cramming is. Okay, the next thing is that it's nostalgic. So that basically means that you have a longing or you have a fond feeling towards some past memories or something from the past. So in the conversation, I was talking about Studio Ghibli movies, which hold my childhood memories. So that just means that I used to watch these movies as a child. So I have a lot of fond memories, a lot of happy memories from watching these movies. And that is why they feel nostalgic to me, because they remind me of my childhood. The other thing I quickly wanted to discuss were GCSEs and A-levels, because I feel like I'll be talking about them quite a lot in future videos. So they're both national exams that every student in the UK takes, and GCSEs are taken when you're 16, I believe, and normally you have around 10 to 11 subjects, and A-levels are taken when you're 18, and you normally have between 3 to 4 subjects. And A-levels are taken when you're in sixth form, which are the 2 years before you go to university, and I always explain it as a pre-university experience, because you have a bit more freedom than you did up to that point, but again, it's not you're left to your own devices. You still have a lot of guidance, but it's a bit closer to university style teaching, in my opinion anyway. So depending on the 3 or 4 A-level subjects that you study and the predicted grades that you get for them, which are given by your teachers, those are what I used to apply to university, and then they make a decision and then give you an offer. And depending on whether you achieve the grades that are required, that's how you study the course at university. I know lots of different countries have different systems, but that's the system in the UK. And the word biased basically means that you're not objective, i.e. you are subjective. So you already have an initial preference towards something. So you're not going to be 100% completely fair. You're going to give a bit more weight to something because you already have a prejudice, or you already have the initial preference for it. So, for example, I said that I am biased towards Korean dramas because as a Korean, I relate to it better. And that means that I'm not going to judge other dramas as fairly because I find it more relatable to watch Korean content. So that's basically what biased is. And the next phrase that I wanted to go over was crème de la crème. Is it really commonly used? I don't think so, but it's a nice phrase to know, so I included it. So, literally translated, I think means cream of the cream in French. I might be wrong, and it probably has a deeper French meaning, which I am unaware of, but in English, it is basically the top of the crop, the superior standard of the thing that you're talking about. So when I say that Korean dramas are the crème de la crème of dramas, for my biased personal opinion, I'm basically saying that for me, that Korean dramas are basically the best of all dramas available. Don't get me cancelled, guys. That's just my personal preference. So, yeah, for me, okay? For me, don't get me cancelled. I'm just saying that it's my opinion. I think Korean dramas are the best. But that's basically what crème de la crème means. You're talking about the best possible thing from that category that you're talking about. So it could be a person, it could be a thing, a subject matter. Yeah, that's what crème de la crème is. And moving on to the phrase an international phenomenon or a worldwide phenomenon, that's basically talking about anything that is famous worldwide. So that could be a person, it could be a book, a TV series, a movie, just anything that is worldwide known and famous. That is what you call a worldwide or an international phenomenon. And then there's the phrase it boils down to, and that's talking about what is the most basic or most important point that you are trying to make. So, for example, I could ask you, what lies behind the success of many different football teams? And I could answer, in my opinion, I think it boils down to teamwork. So that's me saying, I think teamwork is a very important element of football and probably what drives a lot of success for many different teams. So that's what it boils down to means. Well, everyone, I am going to end today's video here. Thank you for watching and listening, and hopefully as the videos progress, I will get better at having an actual conversation with you guys and also including new words and phrases into the conversation so that you have more to learn from. But please bear with me as I also try to figure out what works best for you and also how I can better explain myself both in the conversations and in the breakdowns at the end of the videos. And if you have any suggestions as well on the topics that you want me to discuss or even articles that you want me to go through, then leave a comment on the videos, both on this one and future videos as well, and I will do my best to include them as we go along. But I think that's all I wanted to say for this one. Sorry if it's droned on for quite a while. I know I promised they would be short and snappy, but it's because it's the first proper conversation video and it sets the path for all the future ones to come. But yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. So thank you so much for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed. So yeah, that's it for today's video, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!